Tiffany Henyard and the tax increases, some of the financial stuff, but she's ready to jump in. She's already getting comfortable being on screen. She's all over the place. I saw her on Fox News, the Tommy G documentary. So, she's basically becoming a media star herself. Stephanie, how are you doing today?
I'm doing good, thank you. How are you?
I'm doing great. So, Stephanie worked for the Thornton Township for 20 years before she was unceremoniously let go by the super mayor, Tiffany Henyard. But she understands this township. She understands how it's supposed to be ran. And I'm sure she will let us know how it's not being ran properly. But we're going to go through a few topics here to kind of break down what's going on, especially that referendum that I saw, yesterday, the day before, where there's some mayors going against that, since the township is more of a collection of what, I think 170,000. How big is the township?
Yeah, we're right under 190,000 residents. So it's
Gotcha.
17 communities.
17 communities. So let's just jump into with some of the invoices. I know I posted some of those invoices relating to Tiffany Henyard. There was some little issues, I guess, with what was said on there, right?
Correct. So
Yeah.
you had showed an invoice for the Crown Plaza. I believe that was the Crown Plaza Hotel. I think it was presented as if it was two separate invoices, one for Thornton Township, for the village of Dalton. But what it actually was at the time, there were still some people I knew that worked there. One of the people that worked there had come across an invoice that was made out to the village of Dalton, but it had a Thornton Township check attached to it. So it was paid by the township, even though it was billed to the village. So to prevent anybody from getting in trouble, I sent a FOIA asking for this invoice. They sent it back to me. The only difference was, instead of it being billed to the village of Dalton, they had changed it to Thornton Township. So it was the exact same invoice, the same amount, the same everything, except for the billing at the top left-hand corner, I believe, was changed.
And I guess when you look at that, that's eyebrow raising when you know that it wasn't there first, but like someone must have changed it as they got that FOIA request. So when you saw that, when you first saw it, what you thought? What was your first thoughts?
Actually, I was quite shocked. It's one thing to just not be honest about things, but it's another thing to be, I guess, downright deceitful and dishonest. If you did it, you did it. Just send the backup and, kind of just suck it up. You made a mistake. You could have said a million things, but to alter the papers is pretty brave.
I think, and let me know if I'm wrong, but it looks like this is going to be a messier, crazier investigation because it looks like if they're able to do that, changing certain things, trying to find ways to skirt around the law, there's a lot of documents that's going to be changed. I don't know if it's true that there's probably some people saying that some of these documents may be shredded. Is Tiffany Henyard actually trying to become Nito Brown at the Carter, where in the part of the movie where the Carters basically everything went to ruin, they got caught, they start burning down the building, they start throwing away all the paperwork, they destroy the entire projects. She's actually following this storyline to a T?
That's pretty much what we're living. Honestly, from the other side, it slightly feels the same. There is a small group of people that benefit from her being in office. You don't get support, which in the past she has had. We've seen her numbers, which, although not outstanding, she didn't win the mayor seat with 1,000 votes. That means 1,000 people supported her. I think that you have to help some people, right? So we can't say that she's done nothing, but I think that helping a few people doesn't make it okay for you to feel entitled to take everything else.
So let's go with some of the pale scale changes, and I'll have these documents later on. The problem is doing this when on this StreamYard, you can't see anything, and I have to start zooming in. And I think eventually I'll probably have to do another program where I can zoom in, because documents, you need to see what's going on. I can just put a piece of paper there; people won't know what I'm talking about. But I'll probably put the pay scale so you guys understand what's going on. So explain it for us. You know, her trying to change her salary compared to the incoming supervisor salary. So explain all this and how crazy this is. And what's the rationale? What you think is what's the rationale for her to be doing what she's doing with the pay scale with her job?
So the previous pay scale, she said on one of her interviews that she didn't drastically change the pay scale, which
question. And then also something that you put forth that the next person that is in office, if it's not you, would be getting $25,000, which is a lower salary than what you're getting now. So talk to me about that and what that story, like, where did that come from?
Okay, so for my salary, a lot of people don't tell the truth, so I'm going to set the record straight. My salary was already there. It was from my predecessor. He had that salary, and all I did when I got sworn in, I took over whatever salary he had. So no one said nothing 30 years ago. He had it for 30 years, right?
Okay.
No one ever questioned that he make too much money. But today, when a woman take over, a young black woman, it's a problem. Why is that?
is very untrue. She stated that the only difference was a new person coming in. She cut it from 50,000 to 25,000. But that's untrue because there were about 10 steps in between that also on the current pay scale. So it was set up by term. First term supervisor made 57,000. A second term supervisor, maybe 68. I don't really, off the top of my head, remember the totals, but every term it went up. The supervisor who passed away was in his 8th term. So he had gone from the first term and worked his way up to the term he was in. Because he passed away, she was able to finish his term. So she had 3 years of collecting his salary. Now, a lot of people have asked, why hasn't she changed the salary? It's a lot of money, but legally, she really can't change pay midterm. It's voted on in the prior term, and it just has to stick that through the term. You can't vote to change pay midterm. So she fairly gets his salary. It was set up the same way for the trustees. Every term, the trustees' pay went up.
Okay.
So what would have happened in 2025 had she run and won, she would have dropped down to the salary of a first term supervisor because she was no longer in his term. So it would have put her at that $57,000 salary, which is why she wanted to change it. She walked in on a salary that he worked for, and now she feels entitled to it. And that's not how it should work. And she voted to make sure that it stayed that way. And she also stated in that interview that she cut it from 50,000 to 25 because everybody was saying they made too much. But then why would her salary stay at 224,000? Why wouldn't hers be cut then? Because we didn't think the first term was too much. We think you keeping that salary that you didn't work for is too much.
She's trying to twist words and put things so she can use that as an argument. Well, everyone said that we're getting paid too much. Was like, no, it's directly towards you continuing with a salary that you didn't earn. Actually, let me see if maybe I could pop it up real quick. I know it could be small to see, but maybe I can see exactly. You may not be able to see this on your phone.
No, I see it.
Oh, you can see it? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
She came in because, someone unfortunately passed away. Okay. She jumps in, finish out the term. So he finished out that amount of money earned. But she should be, after that term is over, should go to at least the second term or
no first term.
No, it should go straight to the first, even if because you finished someone else's term,
she
you
was
get your
serving
own
his
term.
Yep.
And she should be at and she decided, how much I like this amount of money, I will just continue to earn this amount of money without being there for 8 terms. You have to be there for a minute to demonstrate that you actually know what you're doing. Mm-hmm. You are a great leader. I'm assuming at least you're showing some level because you're continue to get voted in. But she wanted to maintain her 6-figure lifestyle.
Right.
So that's what she decided to do. And that's extremely important to understand just the pattern of a behavior that looks like she makes sure that she takes care of herself before she takes care of everybody else.
Yep.
Let me see. Does she have any commitment to fiscal responsibility? Does she understand what fiscal responsibility is? I'm trying to figure out.
So my opinion on that, honestly, is I've been here for a long time. I've seen a lot of things. I have personally watched this woman run 3 businesses to the ground and now a village, and the township is on the same road. So to answer your question, my guess would be no. She has no financial intelligence at all.
Well, and I mean, it's right there. I mean, a lot of this is just right there, open for everyone to see. So I know that those who still are, looking to support her. I mean, a lot of this stuff is right there for everyone to see. So, everyone can decide for their own, I guess, interpretation of what's going on. But the travel expenses, some of the details that's been coming from this. Let's just go from the beginning. What would be considered a normal travel expense? So I don't know. I don't have information, but maybe you do, like, in terms of someone else, the past township supervisor or the past mayors. If you can guess how much money they spent on travel, would like, I'm wondering, like, because this is extreme. I think everyone realizes when you're traveling to Vegas, you're traveling to New York, you're traveling, you're spending hundreds, tens of thousands of dollars going to Springfield, like, you're doing all this. That's not normal. But I'm wondering, what would be normal?
Well, I mean, I guess it depends on the type of leadership that's in place, maybe. The previous supervisor, I'm glad you brought that up. There was some travel. He went to Springfield 2, maybe 3 times a year. Both of the conferences that they attended were TOI conferences, which is the Township Officials of Illinois. So they were directly related to township business. Yep. He did take a group of employees with him, specifically our general assistance department. I'm going to guess it probably ran maybe 8 to 10,000, but that's for 12 to 15 people.
Right.
Yeah. So it wasn't, Vegas, Portland, Austin. I mean, the list goes on and on. He went to Springfield. I think in the 20 years I was there, he may have went to DC once. And then, of course, there was the infamous South Carolina trip, which, nobody's perfect. That in particular made headlines for us. It was a good cause, but, not everybody agrees. So they went and they presented a Nobel Peace Prize when the shooting happened at the church in South Carolina. So a group of them went down. There was pastors, there was, counselors. It was a very good cause, but people didn't think that taxpayer money should have been spent on that. So of course there were, headlines about it. It, eventually blew over. And like I said, nobody's perfect. My boss wasn't perfect. Mistakes happen. You learn from them. You move forward. When it's not a mistake is when you count the same thing happening over and over.
Right. Like we say, the pattern of traveling for it. She's saying it's to bring money back, but it looks like a lot of it just based on her ego and just spending a lot of money.
Yeah.
Real quick question. I got $1.99 super chat from Anton. Appreciate you. Is she a full-time or part-time supervisor mayor? So that's a question that's been brought up in terms of the salary, going back to the salary for the supervisor. How much you get paid if you're full-time compared to part-time. And I'm guessing she's making sure that she's letting everyone know that she's getting full-time. So in her official capacity, she's part-time.
She is full-time.
Okay.
Yeah.
Two positions, time.
Her village seat is part-time. The mayor's seat is part-time. I know in her interview, she said that both seats were part-time. I was kind of thrown off by that myself, but the pay, I mean, she said her pay several times in that interview also. The pay is the full-time pay. So we can see, based on what you just put up, that the seat is a full-time seat. I don't know why she said part-time, but her mayor's seat is a part-time seat.
Gotcha. Thank you for that clarification. But speaking about the trips, and like I said, the former township supervisor went to DC, but is it possible to clarify who, she went out to, this was her best, I guess, funnest trip ever. This is a combination of, she finally made it. She went to Washington, D.C., hung out with that old guy, President Joe Biden, took pictures, selfies. She somehow was able to get in the front row. She was so happy.
Yep.
So Yeah, who paid for that trip? Did she come out of her pocket for that? Like, what do you think if you had a idea?
Well, I don't have I know the township paid for it. I know for a fact the township paid for it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I paid for her way to get there. I would I would assume, I haven't seen the credit card yet, but trust I'll FOIA it as soon as it's available. But what I did see was, it was a mayor trip. So there was payments on the township warrant list that said US mayors. So they paid the entrance fee for the conference.
Yeah.
I saw the hotels. So I know some of it's there, but that was definitely a Dalton trip that was not paid for by the village or out of her own pocket.
And would you consider this a personal trip?
I would have considered it a village trip. She was invited as a mayor.
Yeah. So how the blending of township and village resources for these trips like affect how she's doing business in terms of being, the governance, like her trying to run this? Like, is it just becoming so confusing and convoluted? Or maybe like you said, you're there, you've been this for a long time, but blending these resources all over the place seems confusing to me. But what's your thoughts?
It is very confusing and illegal. You can't commingle tax dollars. That's not how this works, or resources for that matter. Every township she had the village of Dalton. So do you know what that means for the village taxpayers?
Yeah.
That means overtime for public works, overtime for police officers. Like, this is costing them every time she does it. So it isn't fair to them, first of all, and not fair to the rest of Thornton Township. What about the other 16 communities? What if those time they want to go somewhere, they have to come to Dalton? What about the Lansing that lives, all the way on the other end of the border? Like, not everybody wants to have to go that far. Maybe some people just want to be able to go up the street once in a while.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Makes sense. I mean, she's representing the entire, more than just what she's, but again, going back to that idea that it's really what's around her is what's most important, right? Everything needs to be around her. She needs to be the center of attention.
Yeah. And she does it because,
I'm
sorry, she does it because her police are there. She can't get away with the stuff she does to people in any other community.
Yeah. And I that with the I call it a documentary and I call it a YouTube video, but with Tommy G, that was a documentary. And how Jeff, police chief, how he treated people who just looking to, again, being in a property with that taxpayers are paying and telling people to leave and being, trying to put that aggressive tone and that aggressive stance on things. I'm assuming as she gets more criticism, the more insulated she's going to be. So she's going to be around those people that, she thinks are protecting her.
Yeah. Yeah. I know that using a police force against residents is what I would call protection, but
Good point.
Yeah.
So we're talking about the township. She presents events that she does as accomplishments. Like, she likes to talk about all these little things that she's building and here and there. And I know some people who support her say that things are getting paid, things are getting done. But can you provide examples that how such events are just incorrectly attributed to the Village of Dalton efforts? I feel like it's still that complicated thing that's going on between what's actually happening, transparency, the honesty between what's going on. But what issue with the township events and that relationship between the township and the village? What is happening? Like, I guess we were talking about before, but that accurate representation of the public events, the achievements, what's going on.
Yep. So
tell me a little bit about that.
She likes to present these township events as if they're things she's done through the village. When I was at the last board meeting for the village, she was extra, I don't even know the word, but the media was there. So she was definitely in her
passionate,
prime,
a little excited, a little hyper than usual, which is very high for her. Yeah. She's extremely hyper, but yeah.
So she listed all of these things that I've done, all these things here in the Village of Dalton, and I'm an awesome mayor. And then she lists all these things, and I'm standing there and I'm like, well, these were all township events. None of them were Village of Dalton events. So, I think that's deceitful for people who don't understand the difference, because those aren't things she's doing as the mayor. Those are things she's doing as the township supervisor. It just looks like she's doing them as the mayor because they're all in Dalton.
And I think that's why when she decided to go on those trips on her tour, she went to Roland Martin, who didn't research, had no idea who she was, or maybe I don't think so. I don't know what went down there. And then she went to Angela Lee, that does most radio work for New York. We don't know. So, because they mentioned it, we watch news. It says, okay, she's a supervisor here, she's a mayor, but we refer to her as a mayor. So when she does these, she talks about these events, we're assuming, well, I guess everyone's benefiting, but there are two different positions. There's a bigger group of people that she's representing. Yep. So it's easy for her to lie to us because we don't really know.
Right. But presenting those events as events is, it's also a form of commingling, just like the Dalton bills with township money. Also commingling. I believe that. So on these credit card statements, it's really funny what you can find. I see that in one of the trips that they went to, Jerry Jones, who is a township trustee, of course, went on this trip, which, I mean, it was a Vegas trip. It was for economic development. I personally don't think the township should be paying for any of that, given we have no land to economically develop. We don't own land. That's not the role of a supervisor. She keeps saying she's over these mayors. I'm over 17 mayors, and they're all men. Well, one's a woman, and you're not over them. She's not over them. She has no say in anything that happens in any municipality. She provides services to those communities. She has no control over them. Like, she has no say. Honestly, 90% of the mayors don't even speak to her. So it's not.
So it's like, there's so much ethical considerations surrounding the use of village funds for non-affiliated individuals, like you're saying, from Jerry Jones' wife to Vegas. What purpose does that have for anybody, or at least the taxpayers,
Yeah, so a couple things with that. He's paid for by the township. Okay, so we can justify that. And on the credit card statement, I can see then there's a canceled flight for him, a United canceled flight, and then a rebooked Southwest flight. Well, that's weird because they never fly Southwest. They're almost always United or Delta. And so in some conversations and some stuff, I get, village credit card statement. On that credit card statement, it's a Mary Jones. Mary Jones is Jerry Jones's wife. She does not work for the village, so them paying for her airline ticket is questionable, because would we do that? So again, this just goes to the because I mean, one can only assume that the conversation was, Jerry wants his wife to go. People FOIA the township credit cards, pay for her on the village credit card. Like, I don't know that that's what happened. That's just my opinion. Let me be clear on that. But either way, it's not something that the village taxpayers should have to pay for at all.
Yeah, it just seems like, again, when you look patterns of deceitfulness and lack of transparency, then we all starts to wonder, like, okay, well, if you did it 4 or 5 dozen times over here, well, if we just caught something, well, most likely it's possible that's going to be the same issue. So I do understand when you look at that, you're like, yeah, this looks like this is probably going to happen. I saw a question. I forgot. I don't know if it was Nikita that said it, but like, who paid for the public's? Oh, no, the PR for she should give those people their money back. I don't know what they thought they were doing by putting her out there. But I guess it's great for investigators, but not for her. But do you have an idea? Like, you think taxpayers are paying for the PR firm?
Absolutely. They're paying for several PR firms. It's all in the board books. It's all on the warrant list. I see it every month. It's very expensive, unbelievably expensive.
I mean, just off the top of your head, how much money you think is this PR firm? And again, they're doing good work for us, the devil spirit, apparently, like everyone that's against her, but not for, like, how much money you can ballpark that she has paid people. Or actually, no, the taxpayer has paid this PR firm.
You mean total that I've seen over time, or monthly?
Just maybe like a ballpark it.
It's averaging about $20,000 a month.
Wow. I'm in the wrong business. I should be a PR firm. I could just, I mean, it's 25, 20, that's a
Yeah.
good amount of money.
And that's
But
with
unfortunately,
a
waste.
new PR firm was just brought on, and their initial payment was like 20 grand in itself. So once I start seeing monthly invoices for that, I'm sure that 20 grand a month might go up.
Yeah, I mean, Roland Martin isn't cheap. Just fucking doesn't matter. I think Roland Martin likes me. So I don't know if you want to get into this referendum and the mental health programs. I saw this a couple of days. I think I saw it yesterday, and saw some residents talking about it. I think some were for it, some were against it. But some of the suburban mayors are telling people to vote no on a new tax for mental health services because they don't trust the person asking for the money, which is the mayor. So the tax will cost homeowners an extra $42 a year for a $100,000 home to fund mental health facilities and services in Illinois' largest township, which is Thornton Township. So 11 mayors, let's say 2 Cook County commissioners and a state senator wrote this letter against the tax, saying it's calling it unnecessary, calling it duplicating existing services. They also said that Henyard shouldn't be trusted with the money because of her past spending issues. So I know you want to talk about this because I think she's also, Tiffany Henyard is not the best politician, but she kind of has some idea of, well, I'm just trying to help people. Mental health is important. So I'm just raising taxes to help people, blah, blah, blah. And, that kind of thing that some people may fall for when you hear her talk about, like, yeah, mental health is a good idea. So I know you want to talk more about that, but give me your thoughts on this whole situation here.
Well, you were right on the numbers, 42,000 for a $100,000 house, but maybe 17% of the houses in Thornton Township are worth $100,000. So we're talking about a bit more money for most people.
Gotcha.
So I think, it's unfair. It is a flat rate of 0.15%. So depending on what the value of your house is, it would be that percentage. Not many are worth 100,000. As post COVID, not much is worth 100,000 at this point. Prices of everything has gone up. So, not many houses here that are at that price. And I think the thing that gets me the most about this is that I know what that department, the Youth and Family Services Department for Thornton Township, I think I know what that used to offer. I know what it brought to the community, what services it had, what programs it ran. And we were providing mental health services. And she fired a counselor passed away, and then the director of the department passed away. And then she fired 3 of the counselors. Well, 2 of the counselors, and one was a program manager. He ran all the youth programs. So you eliminated the very department that you say means the most to you, and you didn't replace these people. Counseling services aren't available at the township right now, but you guys, Thornton Township residents, are already paying a levy for that service, but that service isn't being provided.
Right.
It's really unfortunate that she money and then expects us to pick up the tab. Just in salaries, you freed up $500,000 in that department. You can hire people that could provide the mental health services that you need within that budget, but you want more. I don't think that the residents do that. And when they voted it down last year, because she had it on the ballot last year and she lost, that should have told her how people felt. It's not that we don't want the mental health services. We do. We just want the money to go to somebody we trust that is going to do right by it.
Gotcha. I mean, that's why she's facing opposition. It's not necessarily it's her history with the taxpayer money for her personal benefit, like the first class travel, and and only a few of the trustees who have been loyal to her enjoy those benefits, but the rest of the community that may need the mental health, they need all these services. She spends so much money. She's trying to use taxation as a way to get some more money back into the pot there. So I can see that, but like I said, politics is not, sometimes her being the loudest voice, sometimes she can craft this into, I'm just here to help you, even though has not helped for the past years doing what she's been doing. I feel like she's like a really bad promoter with that's like had like that credit card bill and ran up all the money and didn't really get any value for all of the things that she's spending. But she likes to promote herself. But the promotion hasn't equaled to the amount of money that she spent to anything of value. I mean, is that an accurate representation of her?
Absolutely.
Yeah. What do you think about this? Do you think it's going to pass you, or people? What do you think? As you said, it happened last time she did it. It was no. What do you think is going to happen this time?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that question. What'd you say?
Oh, so the vote will be coming up soon. Do you think it's going to be another no?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Okay.
And this time I actually think we'll win by more. You know, I am actively working against this. You know,
Gotcha.
I
How did it almost win the first time, or was it a big difference?
No, it was actually closer than I thought it was. I really thought the gap would be bigger. I don't remember the numbers, but it didn't fail horribly. This time it is going to fail horribly.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, we'll definitely want to keep I guess tab on that situation. It's so many situations with her, multiple lawsuits from employees. It's a lot going on. Clearly, I know there's some stories about some employees that have been that sued her recently. Are you familiar with that? A chance to check that video out.
I am. I didn't. I really. Well, three. Two were village employees, and one was a township employee. Yeah.
Okay.
The township employee. I mean, I did work with her, the HR manager, for I think the last 5 or 6 years at the township.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was
So
very
it's
nice.
just more lawsuits that she gonna have to deal with.
And there's more coming. There's more coming. I mean, the amount of wrong that's done to people and the reasons behind doing them is just it's unbelievable how actually childish this is. You know, you didn't do what I wanted you to do, so well, I'm going to fire you. And there's nothing you can do about it. But she's wrong. There is things that people can do about it. You know, you can't tell somebody who they have to hire on their elected official board. You know, like she's actually telling people that they have to hire the attorney that she wants, that they have to hire the employees that I mean, those aren't your decisions to make, ma'am. There's a board in place for a reason, and you're not on it.
Yeah. It seems like she doesn't understand the checks and balances. Like, you could be upset that they don't do what you ask, but it doesn't work that way. You're not the CEO of a company, or you're not, it doesn't work that way. There's even a CEO, there's checks and balances, there's shareholders,
Correct.
there's people there telling you. So she doesn't understand that kind of breakdown of power, the command of power. That chain command. She doesn't understand that. So we'll definitely see what's going on in the future. But also there's a question here, a 20 super chat from George. Appreciate you asking you the future for Tiffany Henyard. What scenario do you think is going to happen? Does she complete her term? What else happens? Like, we've seen how some corrupt officials get prosecuted. Some takes a long time. Some it happens after they served. But if you had to, I guess you have a scenario in your head, what do you think is going to happen?
Just knowing how things work, I think that she'll finish her term, I believe, because even if the people do come in and pick her up, and you know how trials are, you're innocent until proven guilty. So nobody can remove her from the seat because she's been charged, right? So she's going to stay in the seat even if she is charged. And I feel like her attorneys are like pros at continuing cases. So it'll just be prolonged and so we'll make it to February of 2025. But I think the plus side to that is we get to beat her in the election and then watch how the court case ends. It's a win.
And that investigation will continue. I'm assuming even if she does lose, that there's things they've done wrong, that's something that needs to be accountable for. So in your head, there's no way she's going to step down, despite, I mean, she's been sued so many times. There's other stuff that, is going, that's investigating. All this stuff is on. You think she's going to just stick it out and just keep going until she has to, I guess, have to deal with being elected again?
Yeah, I think she's going to keep acting like she's doing nothing wrong.
That is scary stuff. But it seems like, I mean, that's because we could tell, it seems like she's being pretty defiant. But appreciate you for coming through. We cut through a little bit of everything. I'm going to definitely, when I do this edit, and we'll put in some of the things that she said, some of the documents, so we, everyone could understand exactly what we're talking about. So you show that, we're not making this up. There's stuff happening that's pretty corrupt and shady, at least for the small part, just shady. So we'll have more information on the recut. But I appreciate you coming through. Say hi to your dogs. I know they said hi earlier a little bit, but I appreciate you coming through. Now, dogs got to make themselves known no matter what's happening. They don't care, which is great. That's their spirit. They're awesome. So appreciate you. You're always welcome back. Just always let me know when you want to come through.
All right. Thank you so much. Have a good one.
Have a good one. Thank you, Stephanie Wiedemann, long-term township staffer, went there 20 years, seen how crazy all this stuff is. So appreciate her for coming through. I think I missed one.